Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nimikong.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you Chapter 4, Section 2 of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
As.
Ah.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Author Conan Doyle. Chapter 4, Section 2. He was much excited. Without either his gun or his hat, and his right hand and sleeve were observed to be stained with fresh blood. But the head had been beaten in by repeated blows of some heavy and blunt weapon. His son's gun, which was found lying on the grass within a few paces of the body. Under these circumstances, the young man was instantly arrested, and a verdict of willful murder having been returned at the inquest on Tuesday, he was on Wednesday brought before the magistrates at Ross, who have referred the case to the next assize. I could hardly imagine a more damning case, I remarked. Circumstantial evidence is a very tricky thing, answered Holmes thoughtfully. It may seem to point very straight to one thing, but if you shift your own point of view a little, you may find it pointing in an equally uncompromising manner to something entirely different. It must be confessed, however, that the case looks exceedingly grave against the young man, and it is very possible that he is indeed the culprit. There are several people in the neighbourhood, however, and among them Miss Turner, the daughter of the neighbouring landowner, who believe in his innocence, and who have retained Lestrade, whom you may recollect in connection with the study in Scarlet, to work out the case in his interest. Lestrade, being rather puzzled, has referred the case to me. I am afraid, said I. There is nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact, he answered, laughing. Besides, no means obvious to Mr. Lestrade of employing, or even of understanding. To take the first example to hand, I very clearly perceive that in your bedroom the window is upon the right-hand side, and yet I question whether Mr. My dear fellow, I know you well. I know the military neatness which characterizes you. You shave every morning, and in this season you shave by the sunlight, left side, until it becomes positively slovenly as we get round the angle of the door. It is surely very clear that the side is less illuminated than the other. Light and being satisfied with such a result. I only quote this as a trivial example of observation and inference. Therein lies my measure, which lies before us. There are one or two minor points which were brought out in the inquest. It appears that his arrest did not take place at once, but after the return to Hasley Farm, on the Inspector of Constabulary informing him that he was a prisoner. He remarked that he was not surprised to hear it, and that it was no more than his deserts. It was a confession, I ejaculated. The coming on the top of such a damning series of events. On the contrary, said Holmes, it is the brightest drift which I can at present see in the clouds. However innocent he might be, were very black against him. Had he appeared surprised at his own arrest, or feigned indignation at it, I should have looked upon it as highly suspicious, because such surprise or anger would not be natural under the circumstances, and yet might appear to be the best policy to a scheming man. His frank acceptance of the situation marks him as either an innocent man, or else as a man of considerable self-restraint and fairness. As to his remark about his deserts of his father, he filial duty has to spend words with him, and even, according to the little Gully's evidence, is so important to raise his hand as if to strike him. I shook my head. Many men have been hanged on for slight evidence, I remarked. So they have. It is, I am afraid, not very encouraging to his supporters, though there are 1 or 2 points in it which are suggestive. You will find it here. He picked up from his bundle a copy of the local Herefordshire paper. Young man had given his own statement of what had occurred. I settled myself down in the corner of the carriage and read it very carefully. Even in this way. Wistow. James McCarthy, the only son of the deceased, was then called and gave evidence as follows. I had been away from home for 3 days at Bristol, and had only just returned upon the morning of last Monday, the 3rd. My father was absent from home at the time of my arrival. John Copp, the groom. Shortly after my return, I heard the wheels of his trap in the yard, and then, looking out of my window, I saw him get out and walk rapidly out of the yard, though I was not aware in which direction he was going. I then took my gun and strolled out in the direction of the Boscombe pool, with the intention of visiting the rabbit warren which is upon the other side. On my way I saw William Carter, the gamekeeper, as he had stated in his evidence, but he is mistaken in thinking that I was following my father. I had no idea that he was in front of me, was the usual signal between my father and myself. I then hurried forward, and found him standing by the pool. I was doing there. A conversation ensued which led to high words and almost to blows, for my father was a man of a very violent temper. Seeing that his passion was becoming ungovernable, I left him and returned towards Hatherley Farm. I had not gone more than 150 yards. However, when I heard a hideous outcry behind me, which caused me to run back again, I found my father expiring upon the ground, with his head terribly injured. I dropped my gun and held him in my arms, but he almost instantly expired. I knelt beside him for some minutes, and then made my way to Mr. Turner's lodge keeper. His house being the nearest, to ask for assistance. To be continued.